Is now your time to buy a home in Cape Coral? Well, if you've been following the headlines, you might have seen the Wall Street Journal call Cape Coral the worst housing market in America. And that headline sounds scary. They pointed out that home prices here surged about 75% during the pandemic boom and fell roughly 11% in the 2 years following, leaving about 7.8% of Cape Coral homeowners underwater on their mortgages, meaning they owe more than what their home's worth. Well, let's put this into perspective. Prices soared nearly 80% from 2019 to the peak in 2022. And since then, they've only pulled back around 10 to 18%. In other words, even after this dip, long-term home values are still way up in Cape Coral. What we're seeing is more of a market correction than a collapse. So what does this transition look like? Well, for the first time in years, buyers have tons of options. A flood of new inventory has hit the market, and supply has nearly tripled since the frenzy of 2021, giving us about 7 months of housing supply, which tilts the advantage towards buyers. During the pandemic rush, we had practically no inventory and constant bidding wars. Now, you can take your time to shop around. Sellers know this, and many are negotiable and offering incentives to attract buyers. I'm talking about price reductions, closing cost credits, rate buydowns, you name it. The Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association summed it up well. Southwest Florida's housing market, particularly Cape Coral, is transitioning from a historically tight seller's market into one where buyers have more choice and negotiating power. This is a natural correction, not a collapse. In plain English, the sky's not falling. It's just finally a buyer's market again, after years of being seller dominated. Now, I know some of you might still feel uneasy. You're hearing about foreclosures ticking up or open houses with no visitors, and it sounds like 2008 all over again. The Wall Street Journal even referenced Cape Coral's notoriety in the 2008 crash. But here's the key difference. Today's fundamentals are stronger. Lending standards are tighter, and a lot of recent buyers paid in cash or have solid equity, meaning fewer risky loans. Data backs this up. Foreclosure activity here remains minimal, just a few dozen in the last few years. Nothing like the wave of defaults that we saw back then. So no, we're not in a free fall, we're in a healthy cooling off period. Prices have stabilized. The median sales price in Cape Coral has been roughly flat from late 2021 to now, and buyers can actually breathe and make careful decisions. This is a good thing for the long-term health of the market. Let's talk about another fear factor, insurance costs. After Hurricane Ian and other storms, a lot of people are spooked about Florida insurance. And it's true, we had a bit of an insurance crisis with some companies leaving and premiums spiking, but here's the update. Since then, insurance is steady. Thanks to recent reforms, Florida's property insurance market is recovering. Rates even dropped slightly on average in late 2024. And more importantly, new insurers are pouring into Florida. About 10 new companies got approved recently to write policies, which means more competition and better rates. I'm seeing this firsthand on my own Cape Coral home, which was built in 2003 and is about 1,500 square foot. I pay $1,871 a year for homeowners insurance, which isn't bad at all. And for a lot of brand new construction houses, we're seeing quotes as low as $750 to $900 a year for similar coverage. Yes, really, under $1,000 for a year of homeowners insurance on a new build. So don't let the insurance horror stories from a couple years ago scare you away. The landscape is improving. As one industry expert put it, Florida's market is stabilized and is even seeing 15 to 20% rate decreases in parts of Southwest Florida. That's huge, as it means carrying costs for homeowners are coming down, making homeownership more affordable than many might assume. But despite all this, I keep hearing people ring the alarm bells about an impending crash. It's all over YouTube comments and Facebook groups. Folks are convinced that the home prices are going to implode any day now. Well, here's my take, grounded in a bit of history and data. When the majority loudly expects something, like a market crash, the majority is usually wrong. Think about the stock market. There's that famous Buffett quote, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful." Most people do the opposite. They get greedy after prices have already skyrocketed, and then they get fearful after prices have fallen, and it costs them. For example, studies show that the average stock trader dramatically underperforms a simple buy and hold strategy. Why? Because timing the market's incredibly hard, in stocks and in real estate. If you're waiting for the exact perfect bottom, chances are you'll probably miss it until it's in the rearview mirror. By the time everyone realizes, hey, the market's improving again, chances are prices have already bounced off the bottom. Real estate, like stocks, tends to reward patience and long-term thinking. Over the long run, Cape Coral real estate is appreciated strongly, even including the recent dip. And those who hold on through short-term fluctuations have come out ahead. Remember the post-2008 recovery, those brave enough to buy in 2009 to 2011, when everyone was calling real estate a terrible investment, made a killing in the decade that followed. Will history repeat exactly? Who knows? But I do know that trying to predict the market bottom is a fool's game. And if you have a solid personal reason to buy a home, maybe your family's growing, you're relocating, or you found an investment deal that the numbers pan out, Don't let the fear paralyze you. As Warren Buffett would say, profit from folly rather than partake in it. In other words, take advantage of other people's panic. And right now, a lot of people are pessimistic, which might be your window of opportunity. Now let's consider interest rates, because that's a huge piece of the puzzle. Mortgage rates are the highest that they've been in about 20 years, hovering around 6.5% to 7% for an average 30-year loan. And that's turned off a lot of would-be buyers. In fact, many of the people I talk to are saying, I'll wait until rates get back down to 4 or 5%. And I get it, higher rates mean higher monthly payments. But here's the thing. The current administration has been very vocal about wanting the Fed to cut rates immediately. President Trump, who's now back in office, has been very vocal about his stance on the Federal Reserve and interest rates, recently calling out Jerome Powell, labeling him a moron, and urging the Fed to cut rates immediately. He's pushing hard for rate cuts, and if the Fed caves to that pressure, we could see lower rates coming as soon as next month. And the moment that happens, buyers will flood back into the housing market. Lower rates make it cheaper to borrow, which encourages more people to buy. And then increased demand can drive prices right back up. We saw this before. Think about early 2020 when rates plummeted, or even the brief drop in rates in 2019. Each time, buyer activity surged. According to housing economists, lower rates almost always stimulate buying and even push home prices higher. So here's a thought. Why not get ahead of the curve? If you buy now while others are sitting out, you can lock in a home at a calmer price and with seller concessions that simply wouldn't be available in a hot market. Then, when the rates eventually drop, you can refinance to a lower monthly payment. It's a strategy that some call marry the house and date the rate. You commit to the home that you love, which is the harder part to change, and you date the interest rate, meaning that you can break up with it later by refinancing. But to be clear, this isn't a recommendation to overextend yourself or buy something you truly can't afford on the hope of a refi. You should absolutely make sure that you can afford the mortgage at today's rate, but if you can, then any future rate cuts are gravy on the top. And you'll be so excited that you bought before the crowd came back. Otherwise, you might find yourself a year from now in the same boat as 2021, scrambling to outbid 10 other buyers for the same house, or watching prices rise faster than you can save. So why not take advantage of the current buyer's market conditions while they last? I'll give you a personal example. I recently bought my first home here in Cape Coral, and I used exactly this approach. In today's market, I was able to negotiate over $35,000 off the price in the form of closing cost credits and commissions, which I applied directly to my down payment. That's $35,000 that I didn't have to pay out of pocket. And in the craziness of 2022, no seller would have even looked at an offer with that kind of a ask. You were lucky if they paid none of your closing costs and even let you have an inspection, let alone give you tens of thousands of dollars off. But because now the power has shifted to buyers, I got a fantastic deal on the home itself and significantly reduced my upfront costs. My plan is to refinance the home when rates drop in the future, and since I bought the house within my budget, I'm comfortable paying the higher rate for now. And when I hopefully refi from say 7 down to 5 in a couple years, it'll slash my monthly payment. Essentially, I'm securing the low purchase price and low loan balance now, and I'll secure the low interest rate later. That way, I won't be trying to buy both the house and get a mortgage in a frenzied market. I've got the house locked in, and I just need to improve the financing when the time's right. I've also recently helped clients secure some amazing deals in this environment. For instance, I recently had a cash buyer looking for a rental investment property. We found a great house in South Cape Coral, which had been sitting on the market for a while, and we went in aggressively. We ended up negotiating over $85,000 off the asking price between price cuts and seller credits, and it turned out to be one of the cheapest sales in the neighborhood in years. And it wasn't because the house was bad, it was simply because the market conditions allowed for us to negotiate hard. Now, my clients own a solid rental property with built-in equity from day one and positive cash flow. That kind of deal was unheard of at the peak of the boom, where everything was selling at top dollar with zero contingencies. Whether you're financing or paying cash, opportunities like this are out there right now if you have the right strategy and guidance. The bottom line is this: Cape Coral's housing market is down, but far from out. Don't let the sensational headlines fool you. When you zoom out, our market's resilient. It's simply moving from an extreme seller's market to a more balanced one. Fear in the marketplace can be your friend, as long as you make wise, informed decisions. Prices today are more reasonable than they were at the peak. Inventory is plentiful, insurance costs are improving, and you as a buyer can actively call the shots in negotiations. All of these factors combined make it, in my opinion, one of the best times in years to be a buyer here in Cape Coral, before the tides inevitably shift again. So is it your time to buy? Well, that depends on your personal situation, of course, but it very well could be. If you're considering making a move, let's talk about it. I invite you to schedule a call with me directly on my calendar. Click the link in the description below. We'll go over your goals, crunch the numbers, and craft a plan to take advantage of this market while it's still in your favor. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer or a seasoned investor, I'm here as a resource to help you navigate what I truly believe is an amazing window of opportunity right now in Cape Coral real estate. So don't sit on the sidelines of buying buying a home is a priority for you. As the saying goes, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. If you buy smart, time is on your side. Thank you for watching and listening. Go ahead and book that call if you're ready to explore your options, and let's strategize your move in this market. Sell the greed, buy the fear, and this might be your perfect moment to do just that. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Let's make your real estate goals a reality.